My name is Gromell. I am a general of Dayan. What is this? An ambush?
Today we're talking about a Fire Emblem legend. Apparently. Gromell is a one-off boss in Path of Radiance. I do not remember this guy at all, so much so, I spelled and pronounced his name wrong in the last video. Let's correct those transgressions because apparently this guy is a huge meme in Japan. Gromell's map involves Ike and gang climbing up a mountain map while Gromell's men launch boulders down at you. Well, not only can those boulders hit and kill Gromell himself, but apparently he's a terrible boss unit. In Fae though, the mains can get you pretty good stuff, and the devs have given maybe the most amount of love to a random boss I've ever seen. Gromell is an Axe Flier with 42 HP, 47 attack, 30 speed, 49 defense, and 32 res. Gromell has a defense super boom, and he's the new highest defense Axe Flier in the game. His speed isn't amazing, but he'll be a good frozen user, and he does technically have one of the higher res stats for the class. Gromell's unique bolt axe is absolutely disgusting. I wouldn't say he's gonna dominate the game, but this is a straight up silly weapon for a free unit. For turns 1 through 3, deal 10 damage to foes and allies within 3 columns, excluding Gromell. For foes within 3 rows or columns, inflict -5 attack and defense, those foes suffer a free follow-up attack, and they take true damage equal to the greater of the total damage dealt to either the enemy or whoever is fighting them on Gromell's team. I want to stop here because Gromell has a very unique support ability. First off, he is a literal bolt tower. For 3 turns, you deal 10 damage to everyone within 3 columns. Similar to Leaf, Gromell is going to hurt his own team. In exchange, Gromell has attack and defense crux, and then a new true damage support effect. Whoever has taken the most damage in the fight gives Gromell's team true damage based on their missing HP. If the enemy is missing 20 health, Gromell grants 20 true damage. Bolt Axe calculates the damage from at start of combat, meaning any as combat begins, instant healing effects will not affect it. Similarly, instant damage effects won't add to the true damage total. Now, besides using the Bolt Tower chip damage, what you can do is use AoE specials. The AoE deals damage before combat. As combat begins, Bolt Axe totals up the HP lost and turns it into true damage. Now, for units like Sigurd, who can deal good AoE damage but then struggle to finish the kill in battle, Bolt Axe is a pretty amazing effect. If the enemy has instant healing, like from Imbue, Bolt Axe can help offset that, although obviously you still need to deal with enemy damage reductions and whatnot. Before we move on, I do want to mention that Dual Leaf just got a refine, and his dual skill involves taking damage dealt to his team and inflicting it onto the enemy. Gromell can hurt the team without fighting. Leaf then uses the dual skill to inflict up to 40 damage. Gromell can open up some very funny strategies, including classic ones like activating Vantage. Alright, so Bolt Axe is already unique, but we still have more effects. Gromell gets +3 flat defense, he gets adaptive damage because this is a magic axe, he also gets distant counter. If above 25% HP, Gromell inflicts attack and defense debuffs equal to 20% of his flat defense stat. He deals true damage and gets flat damage reduction equal to 20% of his defense from in combat. The true damage will affect AoE specials. If you take a look at the top of the description, Bolt Axe has a ranged attack style. This is the same as Mythic Lyn status, I believe. No extra effects, you just get a ranged attack on the player phase. First off, Gromell inflicts a good amount of debuffs scaling with his high flat defense stat. He'll get the -5 from the Crux effect and a free follow-up for his slower speed. Gromell then gets true damage and flat DR scaling with in-combat defense, pretty standard effect. Adaptive damage is nice for dueling other high defense enemies. Last, not only does this weapon have innate distant counter, but Gromell is the first non-premium unit to get a style. Might as well break out the inheritable javelins and hand axes at this point because I can't believe that meme boss character got a ranged attack style on top of everything else in this weapon. To make the situation like even funnier, Bolt Axe is currently bugged. It is granting extra effects not stated in the description, and that is a mistake that will be fixed next month. Specifically, the Crux range support effect is also giving allies defensive no follow-up and full tempo. I don't know if Gromell is going to be a unit we see a lot of defense teams due to the self-team damage, but he is certainly one of the most interesting units we've ever gotten. Bolt Axe definitely requires some strategizing around, but you can get a lot of true damage if you or the enemy is on lower health. If you like having fun, keep in mind everything Bolt Axe does can stack with other Bolt Axes. If you bring 2 Gromells, now you're dealing 20 damage per turn, and the true damage effect is doubled. If a unit had lost 40 HP, that becomes 80 true damage if both Gromells are lined up. Just a whole lot of silliness here. Moving on, Gromell's base kit is also not totally boring. He has Ignis for his special, and while Brazen Attack and Defense might seem like a good idea, remember that Gromell doesn't hurt himself with Bolt Axe. I read this is a reference to his Resolve skill, but ironically he can't use it with his Fey gimmick. Now last, Gromell brings a new inheritable B skill to the free-to-play pool. Flow Force 3 is a player phase only skill that grants offense and a follow-up. It also neutralizes attack and speed debuffs. Flow Force can let Gromell double fast units with a follow-up deny effect, unless they have no follow-up, in which case it doesn't matter. Regardless, Flow Force is needed if you want the tier 4 Assault Force. While Potent Assault is more interesting due to the rarity of Potent, Assault Force does neutralize all stat debuffs. It's still a decent offensive skill. Now if you want to merge Gromell up, his neutral nature grants +1 HP, attack, and defense. That's fine to keep, but you can push this defense even further with a super boon if you want to spend trait fruits. For free-to-play Axe Flyers, there was a pretty long stretch of no new additions until last month. Scarlet is the first ever new Axe Flyer demote since launch of the game, and she's got pretty good attack speed and defense. Pretty solid faster flyer, albeit a bit tougher to get immediately if you want to merge her up. Now besides Scarlet, the last free-to-play addition was Mini Minerva over 5 years ago. She is another faster option. Gromell is part of that slower group of flyers, but his attack and defense are fantastic. You can see even his res stat is still pretty high, although he is behind Camilla. For some other high defense flyers, Har actually does okay if fully maxed out. Baruka isn't too bad, but her base attack is much lower than everyone else here. These two will have a ton more HP to work with. Gromell pushes his defensive points into his actual defense and res stats. Overall, Gromell has the highest defense with excellent attack, but he's not super min-maxed or anything. He has a good stat line for Frozen, and enough speed to double pure tanks, but he will get doubled by pretty much everyone else. Gromell's higher res can at least help with his distant counter shenanigans. For playstyle, Bolt Axe chips away at your team for 3 turns, which can be a major issue. You can try to counter this with things like Emblem Makaya's Ring, but that's single target healing. Healing also takes away potential true damage in case the enemy were to heal up. With that said, Bolt Axe is like a Bolt Tower, meaning it only hits in a column. Outside of Aether Raids, not every map will allow Gromell to tag the enemy team. Now, for some ways to utilize the self-team damage, you can run Ardent Sacrifice or Reciprocal Aid. Gromell doesn't hurt himself, so he can trade HP with a teammate. This could open up some vantage strats, although unless you have Brave Hits or something, Gromell might not get reliable one-taps. With his ranged style, it might be better to try Desperation. Keep in mind, foes with no follow-up will stop Gromell's free follow-up attack. It doesn't matter if we have Flow Force here. As a word of caution, Bolt Axe's combat perks have a 25% HP condition. If you want to trigger Vantage or Desperation, you gotta be under 75%. If you were to swap 30 HP with an ally, that's still gonna be in range, but this isn't the most reliable game plan. Now for more standard skills, Gromell is fine with Attack and Defense Clash as an A skill or Sacred Seal. He can add more out of combat damage with Savage Blow. You can also use AoE specials, but charging them will be an issue without Heavy Blade. You can just use a stronger AoE special ally instead. That way Gromell's entire team can still benefit from the Bolt Axe. Now if you want to buff up, Attack and Defense Oath is an easy self-buffing skill. You can stack more in-combat debuffs with Rain C skills and Sacred Seals. For extra movement for the rain style attack, it will be pretty fun. Gromell could use Assault Troop or the even/odd Tempest Seals. For flat attack and defense, there is Solid Ground. One of the ephemeras for this month is Gregor, who is the only unit with Solid Ground 4, plus 7 attack and defense at the cost of res. I wouldn't say Solid Ground 4 is amazing, but there's no Crystalline Water counterpart for defense as of now. Besides the extra debuffs from the Bolt Axe, flat attack and defense can also be used for AoE special builds. Since Gromell is a very silly unit, let me reciprocate with a silly build. With Bolt Axe, Gromell can use AoEs from 2 range. He also gets adaptive damage, which is excellent, and his 20% defense true damage will get added to the AoE itself. After the AoE damage lands, in combat, Bolt Axe will turn all that damage lost by the enemy into true damage. No need to rely on the pure Bolt Tower chip damage. Now to enhance this build, Momentum is perfect. Gromell needs cooldown, and Momentum can give -2 cooldown before the AoE special. Momentum also has a true damage perk that applies to the AoE. Combined with the flat attack from Solid Ground, that's more AoE damage potential. While regular Momentum is fine, Gromell may prefer the brand new Assault Impetus, which is a Momentum side grade. Same cooldown effects, but you get 50% DR piercing and 20% speed or defense scaling true damage. With the Bolt Axe, Gromell can get 40% defense scaling true damage that applies to the AoE. Solid Ground's flat defense stat is actually useful here because the defense scaling uses flat stats for the AoE damage. Now, there are still some obvious flaws here. We are short 2 cooldown. You could use Emblem Mark for Slang plus Quick Impulse, but this is pretty much a one and done setup. If you can get cooldown help from like Stefan, then you could use Solid Ground 3 for more damage. Another issue is getting in and out. Brutal Tempest would be best for 3 movement and excellent Kanto. Tumultuous Echo can save you that C slot. That could maybe then be like Fatal Smoke to cut down on healing. Last issue, if the AoE does no damage and the enemy has healing, then Bolt Axe's true damage isn't going to do much either. Bolt Axe is trying to be like extra insurance to help finish KOs in battle. Even if the enemy has like instant healing, Bolt Axe still counts the HP lost from start of combat. If the enemy has those 80% AoE protection skills though, well, then Bolt Axe won't really help you here. For some alternatives, Favor is another way to get cooldown. Unfortunately, its true damage perk doesn't apply to the AoE specials, but it's still a great support skill. In place of Solid Ground, you can use Slice 30 Blow. Its 5 true damage does apply to AoEs, but Solid Ground's plus 7 attack and defense is more effective. Now for a more traditional build, Gromell can upgrade to Assault Force, DR Piercing, true damage, and full debuff neutralization. You can also run Attack and Defense Clash 4, or Excel, or Sturdy Flare. If you want Kanto, you can also use Blue Skies or Mastery, despite the lack of a defense variant. For more defensive B skill, well, Flyers don't have the best options. Infantry can get some crazy flat DR setups now. For Flyers, you got Wyvern Rift, and I think that might be it for flat DR in the B slot. Flowguard 4 is interesting for Scowl, but that's player phase only. For mixed phasing, you could try Wyvern Rift or go back to the regular percent DR skills like Gambit or Guard Bearing 4. They wouldn't be the worst options because Gromell at least now can use Arch Rival or Flame Wall for unpierceable percent DR. Their higher cooldown at least works with Gambit too, but obviously charging these specials is a major issue. You pretty much got Heavy Blade and that's it. Try to get some allies with cooldown support. If you want to hold the line, then Hold Guide can be a good accompanying C skill. Gromell can let allies warp around him, and then he can warp around them. Really good with his ranged attack style. On the topic of the ranged style, Gromell could use the new Air Superiority or Emblem Celica for warping. It's a bit wonky, but basically Gromell can warp in front of an enemy 5 spaces away. He can then use the ranged style to hit targets behind an enemy. This effectively gives him 6 range, but you're using another enemy to get the warp first. Just to mention a few more skills, Odd Defense Wave 4 can buff defense for the team and give tempo, for real this time. Since instant healing doesn't affect Bolt Axe's true damage support, you can also use this with allies with Breath of Life 4. This weapon has all kinds of weird interactions. In conclusion, should you 5-star Gromell? As a legendary meme unit, sure, why not? If you want a high attack and defense flyer, then Gromell is fine, and we do not get a lot of free-to-play options in this class anyway. In regards to his unique Bolt Axe, you got range attack style, distant counter, adaptive damage, true damage, and flat DR. Those are all fun effects. Gromell's got Crux support with a unique true damage support ability, but the guy is gonna hurt your own team. Not every unit may enjoy losing 10 to 30 HP, and if the enemy heals up but you don't, well, that's not good unless you have a low HP strategy. Gromell should be good for AoE users, but do keep in mind that there are no DR piercing effects for AoE specials yet. If the AoE does little damage, Bolt Axe isn't gonna save you. Still, there are definitely going to be some fun cheese strategies with this guy. You can stack all of Bolt Axe's effects with multiple Gromells. We got some other out of combat damage skills like Dual Hector or Dual Leaf skill, and then units like Duma inflict straight damage like the Bolt Axe. For a decent combo, you could use Medius's and Guard status to protect your team from the Bolt Axe damage. We did get that pretty good demote Medius if you want to make a free-to-play team. All in all, I think it's obvious the devs like Gromell a lot. I literally did not remember this guy at all, but clearly there's some charm about this one-off boss. I love how absurd Gromell is as a unit, but I wish the devs would put at least like 1/10 of the effort into making some demotes or some of these other free-to-play units. Poor boys out there with like 2 attack buffing skills that don't stack. Like, geez, man. Alright, that's all I have to say about Gromell. Go beat his Grand Hero battle map and maybe watch your back for falling boulders. Thank you for watching, have fun with this hilarious unit, and I will see you in the next video.